Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things Second Amendment, firearms policy, politics, culture, advocacy, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share this program, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember to subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching us on Facebook, remember to like the channel or follow our page so that you can get the alerts whenever we go live. Also, if you just want to listen to us or if you're just listening to us, remember to share it. You can listen to us on Apple iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, Spotify, a bunch of different streaming services. You can find us. Please remember to share the word so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, holidays are over. Maybe you didn't get the exact gift that you want. Well, now's the time for you to do it. Where can you find it? FPCgear.com. You can make it a point to get the t-shirt that you always wanted. You can get the hoodie that you always wanted. Why not get a coffee mug showing your support for the Second Amendment? And you know that every penny that you spend there will go right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's FPCgear.com. Now, you know, we're all about advocacy here. We're all about talking about fighting for our right to keep and bear arms. And those of you who know me know that there's nothing more special to me than the local fight. Now, I hope that none of you have to actually deal with the fight locally in your community in order to support your right to keep and bear arms. But should that time come, should you be in a position where you have to fight, I just hope that you are prepared to do so. And I hope you're prepared to stand up and fight the way it needs to be, because ultimately you guys there, where you are, the people who are on the ground where the fight is happening, you are the most important. So such a fight is taking place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the state legislature in Pennsylvania is looking to enact well, I won't get into that, but a local city there, Pittsburgh, is trying to enact gun ordinances, restrictions on the right to keep and bear arms. Well, let's just say that in their attempt to pass law, they may very well just be breaking the law. And so to discuss that, we have a good friend of the program, Mr. Joshua Prince, joining us to talk about the issue. Mr. Prince, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Craig. Good to see you again.
It's always good to see you. So do me a favor. Tell us what is going down in Pittsburgh, PA. Is it an Antonio Brown thing? Is it a Le'Veon Bell thing? Or is it something even more insidious?
It's more insidious. Basically, back in December, we got notice of the fact that this is intended to propose a whole slew of firearm regulations that violate our state preemption statute. And on December 17th, on behalf of Firearm Owners Against Crime and Allegheny County Sportsmen's League, I submitted a letter to the city advising that these ordinances that they plan to propose the next day on December 18th violate state preemption as well as official oppression, and we were demanding that they not even be proposed. These ordinances included everything from the quote-unquote assault weapon ban, high-capacity magazine ban, bump stock ban. It's interesting, they have three different proposals, and the proposals contradict one another. The definition of assault weapon under the one isn't even consistent with the other. Their definition of assault weapon includes many regular handguns. It's absolutely insane. They also have proposed their own red flag law. And I think for the first time in the history of any municipality in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, their red flag law goes so far as to actually tell the judiciary what it is supposed to do in relation to any red flag laws. So it's really concerning about what they've proposed and the fact that it's illegal. Under our crimes code comes our state preemption provision that says that municipalities of any form, whether they're counties, cities, towns, in essence, any form of local government, is precluded from regulating firearms and ammunition. That violation of that statutory provision is actually a misdemeanor of the first degree, which is our highest grade misdemeanor here in the Commonwealth, and can be punished by upwards of 5 years in jail. We also have case law from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that has said, based on our Constitution, Article 1, Section 21, that all municipalities are prohibited from regulating firearms and ammunition because of the fact that they're an issue of statewide concern and that we cannot have a patchwork of laws across our Commonwealth. Could you imagine if every local municipality could have its own firearm laws, that it would be an impossibility for any law-abiding citizen to possibly know of, let alone comply with? Well, so that's kind of the background.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. I liked the term that you used when we were talking official oppression. So in other words, we can say that the city of Pittsburgh is officially trying to oppress their citizens.
Yes, under Pennsylvania's Crimes Code, Section 5301, we have the crime of official oppression, where any elected official attempts to limit a privilege or right of a resident or citizen of the Commonwealth. That is actually a misdemeanor of the second degree, and if convicted, it can be punished by up to 2 years in jail.
Honestly, I think that ought to be more than a misdemeanor. It ought to be a felony, because when you knowingly, and now you've made it clear, like you said, you sent a letter with all of the legal sightings that basically show, and even the mayor, you said, admitted they know they don't really have the authority to do this, and yet they're trying to do it anyway. When you officially abuse your power as an elected official, that ought to be more than just a minor slap on the wrist.
Yeah, and our letter was over 6 pages long. We documented all the statutory provisions that apply, the case law that applies. As I mentioned, we have a plethora of case law, all positive here in the Commonwealth, supporting that municipalities of any form cannot regulate firearms and ammunition. In fact, one of the more recent cases I litigated, Lower Marion Township versus Firearm Owners Against Crime, we actually got the Commonwealth Court to acknowledge that when they said all regulation of firearms, they meant all regulation of firearms, including even discharge. There I was successful in getting Lower Marion Township's regulation of discharge of firearms found to be invalid under our state preemption code. So it's really disconcerting that these elected officials, even though we've provided them with all of the constitutional, statutory law, and case law that's applicable to these issues, they are simply going to ignore it. They've already set forth that they intend to enact these proposals in mid-February. There is a public hearing that's been scheduled for January 24th, I believe at the current time. It was supposed to be today, but because of the rally that I guess we'll be talking about in a minute or two, they decided to postpone the public hearing, which is interesting in and of itself, because it would seem that City Council didn't want all the pro-Second Amendment ralliers to attend the hearing that was scheduled for today. So we'll wait and see what the city of Pittsburgh is going to do, but we also have the fact that the mayor, Mayor Peduto, has even already acknowledged that they do not have the power to regulate firearms, and that at a minimum, it would require the General Assembly to change the law. The reason I say at a minimum is because of the fact that we have Pennsylvania Supreme Court case law saying that the regulation of firearms and ammunition is precluded under Article 1, Section 21 of our Constitution. And if you actually read after that, Article 1, Section 25 specifically says that all of the provisions of Article 1 are inviolate, meaning they're inalienable. They can't be limited or regulated. And it goes on to say they're exempted out of the powers of the General Assembly. So if the General Assembly cannot even regulate firearms and ammunition, how possibly could a local government ever be able to regulate them?
Wow. Okay. So now you spoke a little bit about the rally. There was a rally that was supposed to take place, or that took place. And it was once again addressing these issues. Now, there are basically signs. You're not allowed to in City Hall. You're not allowed in the building. You're not allowed to possess a firearm. At least you're not supposed to be allowed to possess a firearm. And so they put signs outside stating that. But there's a problem with those signs, is there not?
Yeah, so we became aware on Thursday that all of a sudden these new signs, they're calling them sandwich board signs because they kind of fold out like you'd see outside of a pizzeria or such. And it's in big text, says that it is unlawful to bring a firearm into the city county building, which is the building where the city council is. What was at issue is the fact that the signage doesn't tell the person that they must provide lockers for the individual to be able to secure his or her firearm in the city county building or whatever building where that sign is erected. Now, that sign can only be erected at a court facility. There are court facilities within the city county building, so we're not disputing the fact that appropriate signage can be erected there. The problem is the fact that the signage that was erected does not comply with the law, because the law says in order to prosecute someone for having a firearm or other dangerous weapon in a court facility, the sign must be posted, and it must include both the language regarding the fact that it's prohibited to have a weapon in the building, and that there must be lockers made available for people to secure their weapons while they're in the building. So we notified on Friday City Council and the mayor of this issue. They did not respond to us. However, we got reports back from a number of reporters that were following the issue that small signs were put up. And at first, it was the city of Pittsburgh telling the reporters that they had addressed the issue and everything was fine. What we later came to find out, as more reporters investigated it, is that there were these very small signs that were put up, one immediately inside the building, and the other, if I understand correctly, on the reverse side of the building in a bulletin board that in small text state, if you want to check a firearm, you may do so lawfully within, and that we have lockers available for you to secure your firearms and other dangerous weapons. What's interesting is that the one sign that was on the back of the building in the bulletin board was covered over almost immediately by other signs and other postings in it. And of course, when the city was confronted about that, they said, oh, no, we had no involvement in that. We don't know how that could have possibly happened. But meanwhile, the large signs that say that it's unlawful to be able to have a weapon in the city county building were outside, and no one had notice of the fact that they could securely secure their weapon within the building and that such was lawful. In fact, the mayor even went on in an interview and specifically told everyone that it was unlawful to have a firearm in the city county building. So that's another issue that we intend to address later on. If, in fact, the city of Pittsburgh does move forward with these proposals, we're going to file suit, and we're going to file suit not only in relation to the proposals, but also these unlawful signs that they've erected outside of the city county building.
And I think this just speaks to a larger issue when you're dealing with the anti-gun community, is that, number one, there is a severe ignorance in terms of what the actual law is. First of all, there's an ignorance when it comes to firearms in general and firearms technology and how that intersects with firearm policy and law. But even worse is that out of their ignorance, they feel justified to be able to do and say anything, even if it's flat out against the law or violates the rights of individuals. They feel like they're moral outrage. They have this moral justification to say, screw the law, screw what's right, screw what's just. I have a right to do this because, well, guns.
Right. And they want to violate the law and think it's acceptable for them to do that, but they want to force us to comply with their unlawful regulations. There's a certain irony there.
Oh, irony is not the word that I was thinking of, but you're 100% correct. So, how long is this? I mean, when I think of Pennsylvania, I think Pennsylvania it's got some areas where there's some very, very strong protections for the Second Amendment. But it seems like some of the more anti-gun or urban communities there within Pennsylvania, it just seems to be this greater and greater push when it comes to trying to push people away from the Second Amendment. I'm finding that hard to believe when I think of, really kind of, I find it hard to believe that Pittsburgh is becoming anti-gun. But I guess
Pittsburgh's been anti-gun for a while now, as is Philadelphia. And really, it's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that push Pennsylvania into the purple color instead of being Republican red. Because otherwise, if it was just based on the population of the Commonwealth, with the excluding Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, it would vote Republican every day, all day, every year. So really, the issue has become the city of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia in these different regulations that we're seeing proposed. And we have some other issues. We have a state of emergency provision that provides that if the governor declares a state of emergency, individuals can't open carry firearms unless they have what we call here in Pennsylvania our license to carry firearms, which is our concealed carry permit. The problem is our governor is now on the 5th renewal of an opioid proclamation, which constitutes a state of emergency. So we had to make sure that all the individuals attending the rally today and who wanted to open carry were aware of the fact that Pennsylvania is under a state of emergency because of the governor continuing issuing these proclamations regarding the opioid crisis. And as a result, they must have a license to carry to be able to open carry a weapon.
See, now, and that just seems like a way for them to abuse, to literally abuse the law. And, by the way, just quite frankly, one would think that in a state of emergency, that is the time you need to be carrying.
Exactly.
That is crazy. So, hey, do me a favor. Let the folks know a little bit more about the firearms industry consulting, and how they can follow the work that you guys are doing.
Sure. So Firearms Industry Consulting Group is a division of civil rights defense firm. Pretty much any firearms related issue we handle. We handle state issues in Pennsylvania and Maryland, federal issues across the United States. I also do some international issues with regards to the import-export of firearms. But basically, with the exception of patents, if it involves a firearm, we handle it. That means representing gun clubs, gun ranges, individuals who are erroneously denied. We also do a bunch of representing of federal firearms licensees. I love nothing more than going toe-to-toe with ATF, as Firearms Policy Coalition is well aware of, and we're actually working together on a challenge to the bump stock rulemaking, as I'm sure you're aware. So, like I said, if it involves a firearm, we pretty much handle it. And any state law issues, again, we handle in Pennsylvania and Maryland.
Fantastic. Well, sir, thank you so much once again for the work that you do. We'll be following what's going on there in Pittsburgh quite intently, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing, sir.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
All right, everyone, that's Joshua Prince. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in, liking and sharing this program, and telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.